Hey guys, Legendary Grimlock here, and today we're going to see if the hunter from the Monster Hunter franchise can survive Skull Island. This is going to be an updated version of the thing, and we're going to include pretty much every creature that's relevant. So no, we're not going to put the bees and the ants in here. Albeit they are pretty powerful, they aren't, the best of the best. And for the hunter, he will not have soul amps until he gets these creatures, okay? He'll also be using basic armor and will be using the great sword. But he will have, standard full equipment like the wire bugs and so on and so forth. So, yeah, and the reason why we're doing the great sword is because it's a much heavier weapon to use and it's much slower, meaning the hunter will not only have to take his time, but will have to plan his strikes out very carefully, which isn't impossible. Now, as for the Skull Island, we're going to run it like a gauntlet. Basically, we're going to look for, battles against creatures from a more narrative story point, basically like how Monster Hunter World portrayed it. So let's begin. And first off the bat, we have the Death Jackals. Now, the Death Jackals are basically the size of a hyena or a lion, but have the bite force of a great white shark. I know, insane, right? Incredibly, and I mean incredibly deadly for a creature of such small magnitude. And they come in packs. So this is actually going to be kind of your pack-centered creature, part of the video. So these guys are pretty deadly. Nearly bulletproof, and yeah, obviously they pack that huge bite. Next off, we have the Leaf Wings, which are absolutely insanely fast and agile creatures, and they're actually very well diverse in pretty much anatomy, knowing where to slice with those huge horns on their heads and being able to dismember humans limb from limb. And then we have Psycho Vultures. Psycho Vultures are basically relatives of the Leaf Wings, except they're able to shoot lightning. Yeah, and they're pretty close to the size of helicopters, or at least around the same size as the propeller blade of some military helicopters here. So with that being said here, with these kinds of creatures, or these pack-orientated creatures here, does the hunter actually have a clear chance? And the answer is simply yes. Now, look at these here. We got Great Makoko, Great Jaggy, and Great Yazuchi. Now, see, the thing about these creatures are, not only are they much bigger, and they would be much more, well equipped for Skull Island. Might do the Great Makoko for part 2 of the survival series, but, But these guys would possibly drive some of the other creatures to extinction. They have better pack orientation, they have better pack chemistry, and they're a lot stronger. So now, with that being said here, let's move into Wave 2. Which goes into the solitary to medium-sized creatures. And we have the Swamp Locust. Now, the Swamp Locust is basically an ambush predator of Skull Island, being able to, well, trap people in its vines and pretty much throw it down its mouth, which has teeth after teeth after teeth that actually chews the prey inside. So its stomach is actually chewing you. Crazy, ain't it? Next off, you have the Vine Strangler, which is basically a Venus flytrap. Yeah, those vines actually pull you into its stomach, and then the acids actually digest you. And then when it's done, nothing more than a pile of bones come out. Crazy, ain't it? So you have the Vine Strangler, and you have the Swamp Locust, okay? So these guys are pretty good here, but not as good as the Mire Squid. Now you might say, whoa, aren't you going to say that for tier 3? And the reason is no, because it's actually a prey animal to much bigger monsters. So kind of get that right. The Mire Squid is basically a giant cephalopod that can shoot boiling acidic ink. So not only does this ink blind you, but it boils you alive, and it's pretty much eating you, which is crazy. But again, the hunter's going to prevail here because he's dealt with these kind of monsters before. Nerscylla, who basically, is 10 times better than the Vine Strangler. I mean, let's be real here. Nerscylla's webbing is capable of holding on to creatures strong enough to fight against Devil Joe like Congalala. And let's say, the Mire Squid is able to ambush and, grab the hunter and even drag him underwater. Now, I do think that its ink is going to cause a problem and might even harm the hunter, but not it's not going to kill him. The hunter has been able to take lava blast and has even been able to take electric blast that should also be able to normally eat through a normal human skin, even a normal creature's skin, right? And plus, the hunter is no stranger to underwater combat, thanks to the likes of Legiacris, Nakarkos, Global, etc. And now let's talk about the final contestant of tier 3, honestly. And that's the juvenile skull crawlers. Now, see, these skull crawlers are absolutely dangerous, all right? Ravenous appetite, unrelenting fury, okay? These guys just keep on coming and coming and coming. And honestly, they're just as bad as, probably, sorry, not just as bad, but they're just like a Devil Joe in a sense. They have this ravenous appetite that they can't overcome, and yet they don't starve out to death. Then you have the spirit tiger. Now you might say, oh, whoa, why are you going, over these kind of monsters? And that's because usually when you get to like tier through 2 and 3, you actually have to deal with multiple monsters at that point. That's simply because that's how the story works. They're not apex monsters, or at least in some sense they are, but they're not. You know what I mean? During this time, you would be dealing with apex monsters, and honestly, I really don't think you would have to. And then you have creatures like the magma turtle. Now, see, these are kind of the top echelons of Skull Island before you kind of hit that apex tier, though. These guys are that medium tier that you would have to fight here. Now, the magma turtle itself, right? The magma turtle is actually a turtle that's comprised of lava, and they're actually born in active volcanoes, which is insane. Then you have the mother longleaf, which actually siphon your organs through their legs and can actually just bring you up and eat you and siphon your organs the old-fashioned way. So, yeah, basically a giant spider. Now, can the hunter, deal with this as well? Which is, I think it's kind of simple to say here, but the hunter would also have armor and would have upgraded his greatsword at this point. The hunter would probably use something like, the combination of certain armors to boost his physical abilities, making him pretty much the strongest force on the island. And this would again mean he has to upgrade himself completely, even going after armor spheres. And you might say, how would he find that? But there are some rare minerals on Skull Island, which is kind of the reason why they went there in the first place. I do believe they would have some type of minerals that would actually give him a boost and having him upgrade his armor to the maximum capacity. So with that being said here, the hunter would actually just go on to the final stage, the elder stage, the final boss stage, okay? So this elder level stage is pretty much the pinnacle, if not the utmost, basically the tippity top of the pecking order, okay? You going towards elder dragons. Elder dragon, level monsters and all that good stuff here. And these monsters would each be able to destroy a continent individually, and some of them do scale to multi-continental. This kind of, puts the hunter in a realm of its own, being able to combat these beings. And what makes it even more, dangerous for what makes it more dangerous for these monsters is that the hunter faces them in their own turfs, meaning he's already well adapted to doing it. Now, let's start with the first one, Remarak, a giant skull crawler, the alpha skull crawler, if you will. All right, this big, over-aggressive skull crawler using its prehensile tongue, and it's much more intelligent, knowing that, well, if he ate a human that pretty much offered himself to it, he would have been blown up from the inside. Basically, he ain't stupid. Okay, so in all honesty, yeah, he built different. He built different. However, at the end of the day, he's still the same as a skull crawler. All right, he's still built the same way. He's just more aggressive. He's more cunning and he's smarter. but he's still just as aggressive. He has the same prehensile tongue. He has the, the bite force. He has the, slickness, the maneuverability. And this honestly makes him a much lesser version of a Tigrex. Think about it. Unrelenting fury from a Skullcrawler, right? Oh, doesn't that sound like Tigrex? A monster that really just hounds you completely. A monster so aggressive that it'll just attack you with nothing more than its brute strength and its long, already established tail. Yeah, Tigrex is basically the same as Remarak here. And then there's the fact that even, Tigerexes have a much more devastating hacks than the Skullcrawlers. Even Brute Tigrex is able to use it, and now in Rise, Tigrex is able to use it, and this is its Sonic Scream, or its Sonic Roar. This allows him to basically cause damage the Skullcrawler couldn't. But let's move on to the next one, the Sirenjaw. Basically, crocodile on steroids. Basically, a swamp-covered crocodile that's pretty much just bigger than a megalodon. Yeah, I know, it's absolutely frightening. And even Goji Center puts it above megalodons. So this creature has 10 times the strength and 10 times the bite force of any creature on Earth. It surpasses the Purosaurus, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and so on. So this creature is a real big problem for the hunter. However, I do think the hunter is going to prevail. And here's why. Meet Juvenile, a sand elder dragon, if you will. Look at it. Obviously, it's way bigger than the Sirenjaw. It's actually one of the few biggest monsters in the franchise, measuring around in the 1,600 feet department. Okay? So honestly, with Juvenile, I don't see it really happening. The hunter is just going to slide through because of the creature. But now we enter the next one, Kong himself. Now you might say, whoa, why is it Kong the final boss? You're gonna honestly understand the reason why. Kong is definitely one of the trickier challenges here. And I definitely think on Skull Island, he would definitely have the home turf advantage. He would be much more maneuverable. And if we gave him his axe, he also would have a weapons edge as well. However, I do think the hunter is going to prevail in this. Because here's the thing, right? The hunter is fighting monsters that could easily shred through entire continents like a hot knife through butter. Like Raviente here. Which is basically the world serpent of Monster Hunter. Not as big, but on all honesty, it's really the world serpent of Monster Hunter. This thing goes around eating islands. Then there's Dalmador, which again, the hunter can actually, kill. So I really don't see any reason why the hunter wouldn't defeat Kong in this situation. Now, Camazot is a different story. Camazot is this giant bat titan that Kong needed help in order to defeat here. He had this sonic scream. He was able to siphon the blood off of Kong and any other titan. Plus, he also had minions. This is going to be probably the hardest challenge here. But again, I do think that the hunter is going to prevail. Because here's the thing. Camazot is just like one other frontier Elder Dragon. If you guessed it, it's Guanzorum. Wait. Hear me out, right? Guanzorum is the combination of Camazot's due to its sonic scream and its minions. Except it's smarter and it's more vicious. And the hunter was able to beat this with ease. With any weapon he chose, he was going to beat it. So in conclusion, do I think the hunter survived Skull Island? Now, if we went over to things like food, water, and shelter, yes, I do think so. Because he would be able to obviously know his environment, set up a camp where it's reasonable, and would be able to exploit it. Even if he makes it to the Iwi village and is able to set up camp there, it still counts. The hunter just has too much experience with dealing with monsters on a much higher level than monsters with, with these kind of stats here. So at the end of the day, hunter's going to take it, I think, at least 9 times out of 10. 10 out of 10 if he gets a hold of an animal with a reasonable soul amp. But let me know what you guys think down below. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.